Hey, what's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'm going to be bringing it back to my coverage of Fantasia Fest 2021 with a South African action thriller called Indemnity. Indemnity follows Theo, a traumatized firefighter experiencing major PTSD, when he is suddenly tossed inside of a global conspiracy, forcing him to run for his life after he is framed for murder. He'll have to expose the real criminals, as well as the conspiracy itself, if he has any hope of survival. So I can't really help but think about Netflix's Beckett when I watch this movie, mostly because I just got done watching that movie before I saw this, and the two of these films have eerily similar plots. But where Beckett felt more like a modern retelling of The Fugitive, I'd actually argue that Indemnity feels a tad more like The Bourne Identity, since there's an aspect to this film that deals with memory loss, a little bit of hand-to-hand combat stuff, and even more that I can't really discuss without spoiling you. But it has those ingredients that you'd normally get with a Bourne film. And I'm all for that because I actually love those movies and I have them all on Blu-ray. Plus, the one complaint that I had with Beckett was a slightly undeveloped assortment of characters that didn't have much depth. And that's actually not something that I have to worry about here. Everybody has a deeply compelling history and drive to do what they're doing. Even the bad guys that are framing him, even they have a somewhat compelling and relatable reason behind their actions. As for what this conspiracy entails, I can't really talk about that. But what I will say is that it felt original. It felt different than what you would typically get with a film like this, and I found that to be mostly pretty clever. The more our hero of the story uncovers about the reality of the situation, the more I got invested in seeing how it would all pan out, because I also found it to be relatively unpredictable as well. The action in the film is actually fantastic and very well balanced. It's a mixture of a lot of gun action, a taste of martial arts, and the rest is mostly pure suspense to fill in all the cracks. And it's a perfect cocktail for a thriller in my opinion, and I'm a sucker for a good martial arts film. I don't care if a movie's saturated in this stuff, but I also appreciate when films don't go all out. The martial arts in this film particularly almost never occurs. Unless it has to, unless our characters have no other choice. They run out of bullets, they can't easily escape the room, whatever. And to me, that's just a lot more realistic than senseless kung fu, for instance, and it helped the audience feel that vulnerability to the characters, and even how brutal and scary those kind of moments are. Since there really is a useless feeling when watching the film. You know, he keeps getting away, but there's so many odds against him because what he's facing is just so huge, and it's everywhere. And so that sense of urgency in the movie is constant. What about negatives? Well, honestly, I would just have to point out that, as a whole, this is a concept that doesn't feel utterly original. The conspiracy in the film did feel mostly original, but everything else, especially the structure of the film itself, felt very familiar. Let's go ahead and break down my final score. From an unbiased, technical perspective, this was a well-balanced film, especially in how it decided to tell the story, and how it decided to direct its action. Nothing felt over the top or overdone, so a good pacing, and I liked a lot of the editing when it came down to the action. Also, the acting was fairly decent, albeit not technically the best I've seen all year or anything. This unbiased score is 78%. My biased score, just how I felt about it overall, pretty much matches that. I enjoyed the movie, and it was kind of an enjoyment that I got more and more invested in as the film went along. There's certain moments here and there that I felt were slower and that I started to get a little bit distracted with, but overall, I found it to be a fun time. This score is also 78%, which means that when we average out the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 78%. 78 out of 100 possible stars, or a B-letter grade. And by the way, the unbiased and biased scores tied exactly with Rising Wolf, which I just saw a couple days ago, so you can check out that review after you see this. But in the meantime, guys, have you seen Indemnity? And if you have, let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie.